Fantastic. I have a horrible memory.
No recordings. This is just memory only.
I love just that. Recounting stories.
Hi guys.
Hi.
How you doing? All doing all right?
Doing good.
All right. Is this? Do I have to hold this?
Oh no.
Okay, that's just there. Okay.
Oh, I love this background.
Oh.
Oh, here we go.
There we go.
It's good promo.
Yes, it's my wallpaper in my room at home.
Who wants to start?
Anybody have any questions? Or I'll ask.
go. All right.
Tell us
So, when you came back to Cobra Kai and they asked you back, and now going into season 2, what does it feel like to continue the story that we're telling about you?
So, wow, it's awesome. I mean, when they came and approached me for Cobra Kai season 1, my mind was really blown at the idea of rebirthing Johnny Lawrence today. So the whole idea of even doing it was very cathartic, and it took a long time for me to process it, to kind of accept the fact that I was going to do this. But they wrote it right, and it was a lot of fun, very challenging to get into the character of Johnny, especially the way they wrote him today, being a degenerate, drinking his beer and kind of isolating him in this apartment. He's not the Johnny I would have imagined being today. Maybe he was a doctor or, running some camp somewhere, so they took his legs out, but they kind of made him an underdog in a way. And I love that. And I love that Johnny has a chance to intervene into this child's life and form a bond, and then goes ahead and opens up Cobra Kai, which I said at the beginning, and which is really happening now in season 2, is by opening Cobra Kai again, Johnny's opening up Pandora's box. This is the snake that bit him. This is his past. His intentions are to do it right and to change things. So at the end of the first season, you see that he led his cavalry to victory, but he's a lot of conflict because they use tactics on his own son that he suddenly doesn't agree with. Enter Sensei Kreese into his world, the man that taught him everything about this, and now he has his kind of father figure, sensei mentor, stepping back into his life, which complicates things even more. So I love telling the story of Johnny. I love going deep with him and seeing his backstory, and his he's kind of stuck in his past in many ways, and that's a lot of fun. So it's a thrilling time to play him in this modern day. Yeah.
I was just say, speaking of your relationship with your son, that's just more strange than ever. How are we going to see that develop in season 2, especially in comparison to your own estranged father-figure relationship?
Yeah, well, the heart of Johnny, when I read the script and when I heard the story, is his son, and the fact that he's estranged from his son and he feels like he failed him. So he's still throwing the lifeline out to his son, hopefully to earn a spot back in his life. But he's got a lot of, Robbie, his son, has a lot of right to not trust that because Johnny wasn't there. So when somebody comes back in your life when you're 16, 17, 18 years old and says, I'm going to be your dad now, it's not easy for him to accept that. So there's a lot of conflict, and especially since Robbie has been taken under the wing of his arch enemy, Daniel LaRusso, that doesn't make things very interesting, or very easy for Johnny. So it's cool.
The movie's obviously 2 hours, and Johnny has his role in that to sort of be the villain. The places Cobra Kai's gone in season 1 and where I've seen it go in season 2, has this allowed you to really explore a lot more dramatic territory for Johnny?
Yeah, a lot more. I mean, like you said, in a movie you have, 2 hours to button it all up, and in the Karate Kid formula, there's a victory at the end, you feel good, and the bad guy's down. In a show like this, it can go on and on. It's long form, and we can really explore many levels and depths. So I love what they're writing to, my strengths in my action and my comedy and in the drama. So it's really a great buffet of writing they do for me, which I'm very thankful for.
What's been the most challenging dramatic moment?
Have you seen the second season by chance?
I have, but I'm sure we don't want to spoil that.
Yeah.
Be general.
There are a few scenes in season 2 that were particularly difficult to play because I feel Johnny in my blood, and my instincts is Billy would take things in a different direction. Johnny's different, so he would go in a different way. So I'm like, oh man, I would maybe not do that or say that, but because he's boxed into this situation, it compresses your emotions and your feelings, and you live that. So I experienced some real emotion in doing the show. That's taken a while to actually come home and then just detach from this character. Yeah.
So, since the new show is kind of
redeeming your character, has that changed fans' reactions to you?
Yeah, of course. You know, I mean, the Karate Kid fans I've got all my life. Like, I hated you. You know, you're the biggest asshole. You know, and then there was the guys, always the yahoos on my side. You know, they're like, you know, Cobra Kai, dude. You know, she killed him anyway. You know, I'm like, no, you kind of did miss the point. You know, of the movie. But yeah, you know, I mean. I think I don't know, I imagine from the outside it might be like your high school bully and running into him 30 years later and seeing that he's like having a tough time and actually not that bad a guy, and now you've grown up and you realize maybe he wasn't all bad. And so I think getting to know Johnny in a way has been, I don't know, kind of a therapy in a way, like, oh, he's not so... I don't have to be afraid of this guy. I don't have to hate him. You know, he's not perfect for sure. He's working out his inner demons out in front of everybody. And but yeah, the response to the character has been very favorable. And a lot of people, I hear a lot of young adults, men mostly, who, you know, can relate to him. You know, and they're trying to make it work, and they're, you know, in their apartments eating bologna and drinking beer and trying to figure out what went wrong. And
I just met.
and you know what I mean?
I
You know, but it's great, and then it's like to see Johnny trying to do something right. You know, I think, you know, there's something about that and living vicariously through a character that can actually inspire you in real life. And I've heard a number of those stories of guys just saying, "Hey, man, you know, that's me, man, that's me," and I love hearing that. You know?
Did you see it that way back then when you were first playing Johnny and Karate Kid? Did you see the other side of Johnny we're seeing now?
Yeah, I think so. Very much so. In fact, any interview I ever did since then till now, I never ever saw him as the bad guy. He was the antagonist of the film, and he was the villain in a sense. But the only way that I was able to play him and for him to fit so well on me was the two parts in the script that I hung on to, which was the first one when he says, "I'm an ex-degenerate," and the second one when he hands Daniel the trophy after Kreese says, "Sweep the leg." When I read those two parts in the script, I'm like, oh, so he's not just all bad. You know, at the end of the movie, if Daniel would have kicked him in the face and Johnny would have come out with a baseball bat, then he's like unredeemable, right? But I saw, oh, okay, so he's got a conscience. And because of that, I was able to play all the other colors. So I always saw him through his own story, and he was justified almost in everything he did because he was trained a certain way to respond a certain way. And here's, from his point of view, a stranger coming in from out of town, he gets in his business, takes his girlfriend, and then takes his title. He wipes out his identity. So, I mean, it was, to me, that was that story, but it was a story of, for me, as the actor, and you have to always have your story, you know, and then in the big picture was, you know, for me, the story was a story of a kid waking up a little bit, and that crane kick actually liberated Johnny Lawrence and set him free. But, you know, then all his foundation for those 18 years and all his training, everything goes out the window, and now what do you have? You can't reach back to that. So he's been a lost kind of soul for this many years, and now he's finally getting to the point where he's going to try to make some things, make some changes, and grow up. I think there's something about that people relate to, and you know.
He becomes a filmmaker.
He becomes a filmmaker? Yes, he picks his camera up and he becomes a YouTube star.
Kind of. Last question.
Yeah.
Final question.
If Johnny had had a Mr. Miyagi, do you think he would have turned out differently than?
Oh yeah, I always say that. Ralph and I joke about that all the time. You know, if Johnny would have stumbled into, you know, the South Seas Apartments and made a bonsai tree, he would have turned into Daniel LaRusso. And if Johnny wasn't at Cobra Kai the day he peeked his little head in there, hey, LaRusso, no. You know, remember when he comes to the dojo and he wants to learn karate and then Johnny's there? Daniel was this close away from getting into the clutches of Kreese. So it could have gone either way, and then we could have a whole different story. But that's like life, you know? You're affected by who you run into and who takes over in your life and who you give power to.
Well, we're glad we get to see the side of Johnny.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.